Welcome to USA Booming, the podcast where business gets personal. Here's Ryan and Sam.
Welcome. I can't believe we're doing this again, my friend.
I kind of forgot how to do it. Is it like riding a bike?
I hope so. Hopefully with guys like this next to us, we'll be okay.
Yeah,
we'll be okay.
Smooth sailing.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So Dan, do you mind just saying hello real quick? We'll introduce you properly here.
I'd love to say hello. Thanks for having me on. Dan Roselli, I'm the founder of RevTechLabs. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
I am going to use that walk-on music for mine now. I'm claiming it from here on out. That's some good walk-on music.
Yeah.
We own it. We own it, so you have to pay us for copyrights. Please, easy there.
You might get a cup of coffee on those royalties.
That's right. Well, very cool. Dan, thank you so much for coming out with us today. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us here. Again, we're USA Booming, where we really try to bring some phenomenal people to you. I don't know if you want to add any more to that, Sam.
Yeah, just the story of the entrepreneur. What a great time in this challenging environment we're in to see the resolve and the creativity of people like Dan. And so thanks for joining us, and can't wait to hear more of your story.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. I tell you, your name here in the Charlotte market is pretty synonymous. It's funny. We were kind of excited that you said yes to our podcast. So then all of a sudden you started talking to a couple of people, and I was like, man, everybody knows who Dan Roselli is. So, anyway, right. As I was sitting here talking about the best way to introduce you, and there's some guys that just have their one baby, and the more we get to know about you, the more it seems like you have like 8 different hands and many different pots and all of that type of stuff. So if somebody says, hey, Dan, nice to meet you, I'm Ryan, what do you do? How do you answer that?
Yeah, it's funny. If I answer it tactically, there's probably 4 full-time jobs that I'm trying to do at the same time. But what really motivates me, I'm sure we'll talk about, I love helping people find their potential, right? That's if you want to look at a common thread throughout my life, that's really what turns me on, right? I think people have so much potential, and the ability to believe in themselves, have someone else believe in them, and push that forward. That is what really gets me excited.
Wow, that was very poetic. Yeah, that was really good. So
that's it. I'm done. I'm out. All right. Thanks, guys.
Drop the mic. Yeah, we're good.
I feel warm and fuzzy after that.
No, and absolutely, but that's really true. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, you definitely Dan Roselli. Look him up at LinkedIn. You get a great handle on who he is and some of the accomplishments that you've had out there. It's funny. Everybody comes into entrepreneurship a different way. It kind of seems like a cool term right now, but I'm not sure everybody really understands some of the sacrifices that go into it, or really some of the thought process behind becoming an entrepreneur and really starting your own show. So. With that, can you give us an idea? I mean, when did entrepreneurship really start to enter your mind? Was it kind of a natural thing, or because it seems pretty natural now?
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. It's always been out there, but I kind of described my career in 3 different phases about every decade. So I started as a big company marketing guy, right? General Mills, Colgate-Palmolive, M&M Mars. Second phase, Bank of America hires me to come down here and run marketing for them, which was fantastic. And we love Charlotte, and we wanted to stay in Charlotte. One of the things that most people know about us, Sarah, who's my wife and business partner, I should give her a shout out because she's a lot of the success story.
Yes, absolutely.
We have 2 sets of twins, 2 sets of boy-girl twins.
Wow.
And so when I left Bank of America, we wanted to stay here. And being an entrepreneur was a logical way of doing that. So along with some other partners, I helped co-found what's now a good-sized company called RevVentures, spun a company out there, and for 10 years was an entrepreneur myself. And then the last 11 years has really been about building the entrepreneurial community. So kind of 3 distinct phases to what I've done.
Absolutely. You listen to books and you read books about becoming an entrepreneur. I mean, that does look like it's right out of the script there. You glossed over a pretty astounding fact. Company called RevVentures. I don't know. Yeah.
Or even starting with some of those Fortune 500 companies. Just some of those big players.
So, how did that evolve really? Where did RevVentures come from, and what really gave you the gumption to make the jump and get out there?
Yeah, so to start with, coming out of college, my goal, very goal-oriented person, which is probably not surprising, wanted to be CMO of a Fortune 500 company, right? Coming out of college, that's what I wanted to go do. And that's why those big companies and that experience. And then when I left Bank of America, didn't want to go back to New York. That's where we had lived before, grew up in Michigan. And when you want to stay in Charlotte, like, well, how can I stay in Charlotte and make a living? And the opportunity to go take a risk on being an entrepreneur just made a lot of sense. Found I was good at it and really enjoyed it. And then the rest is kind of history there. It's funny you talk about Charlotte entrepreneurship and how much it's changed.
Absolutely.
Even 11 years ago, when we started doing what we're doing at Packard Place and RevTechLabs, when you told someone in Charlotte you were an entrepreneur, they gently put their hand on your shoulder, kind of stuck it down. Ooh, when did you get laid off from the bank? Right? That's right. That's what being an entrepreneur was in Charlotte. And now, when you
second career,
so when you tell people you're an entrepreneur in Charlotte, now people look at you and like, oh, tell me about your business.
Very
model.
cool.
And you tell them what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you could see them kind of get a little sad and like, oh, I wish I could go do that. So it's completely flipped on its head in the last decade, and that's just great to see.
Well. Yeah, you talked about being a goal setter, and obviously we've seen that throughout our experience. What keeps you in check with those goals, or how do you get from saying, here's where I want to end up, this is where I am now? What are those steps along the way to keep yourself accountable?
Yeah. Well,
who keeps you accountable?
I'm going to throw out a book that's an oldie but a goodie.
We love those. We love those.
Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It came out when I was about 20 years old and had a huge impact, still has a huge impact on my life. And I'll give a shout out, and we should put this in the link, so much so that I've taught every employee at the companies I've run the 7 Habits. So we have common nomenclature. Now I teach it to the community for free once a year. So you can sign up. We pay for the books. We bring it in. I just feel it's a great way to kind of pay that forward, and helps me remember the habits and remember how much I've forgotten about it. And if you've ever studied Covey and the 7 Habits, it really starts with the purpose of who are you and what do you want to be doing? What is the most important things that drives you? And everything falls out from there. And I just felt really blessed that in the fact that I've had a very clear vision of what I wanted to go do with my life, which a lot of people can't say.
No, and I'll say that book had an incredible impact on me as well, coming out of college and just trying to kind of figure out really what do I do now that I'm out of college and all of that. I'm glad you brought it up, because it's one where now that I go back to my alma mater and sometimes I'll talk to the School of Business and different classes and those types of things. It used to be a book that I would suggest quite a bit, but as time goes on, you kind of
new books come out.
New books come out, and you have a new one that you start to pass out. But man, that's a good one.
Oh, yeah. Well, it reminds me of what I have on the top of my whiteboard at home right now, or home office, I should say. It says, who are you and what are you doing? Yeah. And that goes right in line with what you're saying. There was a story I heard a preacher talking about where there was a guy in Siberia. He kind of wandered into a place where he shouldn't with the Soviet government. And the government came over, or the army came over and said, who are you? What are you doing here? And the guy said, if I pay you your salary every day to come to my house and ask me that, will you do it? Just to hold me accountable, sharpen that blade. Yeah. And, a great lesson for us that it's a everyday type of thing. It's not this 20-year objective and you hope you get there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of visioning of what do you want to do in 20 years. So, you probably saw this on our community impact site, but our alumni have raised over $2.5 billion in venture capital.
It's amazing.
$300 million in exits, 1,200 jobs created, 3,000 entrepreneurial events. And the reason I say that is if I had stood up 11 years ago when we started RevTechLabs and Packard Place and said, these are the goals, this is what success would look like, I would have been laughed out of the state of North Carolina. Right?
No, absolutely, right? And you
do that by putting one foot in front of the other. Every single day, you just go, right? One foot in front of the other.
Yeah, just some of the names. So ladies and gentlemen, as you come into this building, it's really cool, especially, so Sam and I are based out of Charlotte, and you see some of the names on the walls as you're coming up, whether it's sponsorship or people that you've helped, and it's some of the really fast growing companies.
You know what it reminded me of? It's, you go to Discovery Place and you see the finger paint of
little handprints,
little hands of the children, and then those children are probably 45 years old now.
Absolutely.
Those are your babies all across the wall here. Yeah. What kind of feeling is that walking into work every day, seeing that?
Yeah, it's really energizing, right? I still have the same level of energy I do now for when we started. And if you saw that out on the building, there's a statement of belief about kind of the community and who we are. And we're an enabler, right? They're still doing the hard work. They're doing 99% of the work. But if we can make it just a little bit easier for people, that's what entrepreneurs want. They don't want you to do it for them. You can't do it for them. But to know someone else is there helping support you and move it forward is just means the world. And so that's kind of what we try and do.
No, it's pretty remarkable. And as I'm sitting here talking with you, and you kind of like, do we go into venture capital? Or do we talk more about how you sold companies and got out? Or so right now as you're sitting here, and again, $2.5 billion, and I'm sure that number's growing. There are a number of Inc. 5000 companies. That's who we really like to talk to on this program. So it's pretty remarkable. So right now, as you're sitting there and you're looking at what Dan's doing today, and you have all your hands in these types of things, is there a particular pet project or something in particular, even personal, that really gets you excited and that's where your heart's at right now, that passion, that vision? Or
having helped build this nice, robust entrepreneurial community in Charlotte. Charlotte is known for growth capital, $700, $800 million funds doing $50 million investments. If you need $50 million, you can come to Charlotte and get that. Well, pretty easy as a joke, but pretty easy, right? What's a challenge is the venture space, the $500,000, the $1 million, the $3 million checks. And that's one of the things I really have a lot of personal passion over the next decade of doing, is building Charlotte into one of those really robust venture communities. Because when we said we were going to do that in fintech or insurtech, right, everyone's like, what the hell's fintech? And the ability to then do that and put it on an international map. And now it's kind of funny because a lot of entrepreneurs will complain that, well, Charlotte's only known for fintech. And I'm like, well, 10 years ago, we weren't known for anything.
It was kind of like, you would talk to, we know a couple of fintech companies, and I remember maybe 10, 11, 12 years ago, it was kind of like, well, yeah, we're a fintech company. I was like, ooh, what's fintech?
Let me Google that. Google search.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Well, it was banking before that, right?
It's
banking or bust.
It's fun doing things that people don't think can be done, right? The other thing that motivates me is tackling problems that other people think can't be solved. That challenge intellectually is a lot of fun, right? And I enjoy doing things where I'm in a unique position to do them. It's part of the Packard Place story too. Sarah and I talked about, what are we really passionate about? What are we in a unique position to do that not everyone can do? And what will add huge social value to our community? That was our trifecta of what we were looking to go do and why we did Packard Place. Okay,
very cool. So it seems like RevTech, and again, RevTech and Packard Place have this overlapping kind of vision. Is there, I don't want you to choose between babies or what have you, but is there one that kind of lies, a little bit heavier with you? Or?
Yeah, the RevTechLabs model is really where we're pushing, right? Packard Place came first because we needed a physical space to do that. But what and Packard Place is very locally focused. RevTechLabs is nationally and internationally known. And that's part of what I think is part of this journey is we happen to be based in Charlotte, but we have a national and international reputation. We just got ranked again as a finalist for top global fintech accelerator from Finovate,
it's
right?
Amazing.
With companies like Visa and MasterCard.
Awesome.
And
congrats.
The New York FinTech Lab, which I think was funded with $100 million from New York companies, right? And there's little old RevTech Labs in Queen City FinTech here.
No, and so and again, you talked about Accelerator and those types of things. That's actually how I heard about you, was through the what's called Accelerator Program, which I think is really cool. So correct me if I'm right or wrong here. I want you to talk about it a little bit,
sure.
But it truly is a really neat piece of venture capital where I guess people kind of apply.
That's right.
And it almost sounded like it's some type of program where you get to know them and then you start to outsource other people that are potential investors, and kind of like it almost sounded like a little mini Shark Tank type.
It's a little bit. Here's how I describe it to entrepreneurs, right? If you want a punchline or a theme line for it, we're increasing the probability of success for founders, right? Starting a company is hard work. The vast majority of them fail. You know the stats. And so if we can make it easier for them, they apply to get in, and we surround them with resources like mentors, our corporate partnerships, training and support.
That's great.
And so what we've done is we've pre-wired that whole ecosystem. So 70 corporate partners, over 800 mentors, 300 different venture capital firm relationships. And when you've wired all that, people can come in and plug into it right away. And so that's where they come, is the connection of the ecosystem. So we facilitate a lot of bringing the community together, but we're very humble and honest in the fact that we're not providing a lot of the value, right? We've connected people to provide that value. And Charlotte's a great place to do that.
The position of connector is awesome. just to be able to have that type of network and what have you. It's really cool.
I've joked that my job description is connector of dots, right? I've said that for a long time.
Well, and you figured it out. So a long time ago, a very successful guy told me, he said, it's great selling and it's great having a product that people buy and what have you. But he said, if you can introduce one guy here and have to this guy over here and bring them together and they can do business. And he said, that's really where some magic can happen. So some of the stuff that you've seen, I mean, you talked about how difficult entrepreneurship is and you've probably seen, unfortunately, some failures or those types of things.
I have seen it all.
Right. I mean, it's a messy business. So, I would imagine that some of our listeners are people that are, especially with guys like you on, are potentially considering venturing out on their own or what have you. What would you say is maybe one of the top one or two things that some of these entrepreneurs do? What are the top mistakes or if they get going, what do you see people, is there a common thread there of what might bring on failure versus success?
Yeah, it's interesting. I firmly believe that the founders who want it the most and are willing to work for it is by far the most correlated variable, which I know sounds really trite.
No.
It's not the brightest people all the time. It's not necessarily the ones with the most experience, but the ones who are willing to work the hardest at it. And I'll connect the dots back to Covey, right? We're talking about mission.
Right.
You have to do something when you start a company that you deeply believe in. And every once in a while, and it doesn't happen much anymore, I'll get an entrepreneur like, well, why are you starting this company? Well, it's because I want to make a lot of money and build it and then sell it. And like, that is a recipe for disaster. Versus an entrepreneur who says, hey, this is something that I experienced in my life. I love this formula. I experienced this in my life. It was a pain point for me. No one solved it. And I built this company to go solve that. It's like you can hear the passion in their voice. Because entrepreneurship is hard. And when you're banging your head on the brick wall and trying to get through all that, it's got to be a bigger, deeper burning yes that motivates you to keep going. Part of the success in RevTechLabs is because I deeply believe in the mission of what we're doing here. That's part of the reason we've been successful. And when I have rough days and it's been long and just pick myself up and dust myself off and keep going, and that internal motivation has to be there.
Beautiful. With RevTech, as you were starting it and now looking back, what are some of the biggest, I don't want to call them surprises, but things you just didn't expect? Obviously, coming as an entrepreneur yourself, you already know that game, but now being more of the facilitator or connector, what was something that you just said, that keeps coming up? I wasn't expecting that.
One of the things I would say when we started, one of the best decisions we made is we threw a really big party. Is the very first thing we did. It was the largest entrepreneurial event in Charlotte, 300 or 400 people.
And I do want to interject that this is one of the best ideas. Right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Clearly one of the best.
Just in case you were falling asleep driving the car or whatever, listening to this, this is a good one.
Wake up.
And so, well, if you want entrepreneurs to come out, right, just provide them free beer and they'll show up. Free beer and food always works. But
That's medicine.
That's right.
Yeah.
And what we did is we said, Sarah and I, we stuck our neck way out here on this building and buying a building in the middle of the Great Recession, right? No one was deploying any kind of capital for any reason.
No.
But we want you, the community, to help us figure out what we go do with this big blank canvas. So we've described, RevTechLabs as a community crowdsourced project. What do we need to be doing from the meeting space downstairs to the mentorship to the accelerator itself? We didn't start the idea of the accelerator. We had tech leaders from the community who came and said, we're bleeding entrepreneurial tech talent. This is 10 years ago. To the Raleigh or to Austin, let's do an accelerator. The senior people get to know each other and make those connections. The junior people get the benefit of that mentorship. We raised the flag for technology in Charlotte. And I said, great, let's do it. What's an accelerator?
And the rest was history, I guess?
The rest is history. So the first ever demo day was on the fourth floor of this building.
Okay.
And I was involved in selecting the companies and mentoring, and the demo day's happening. And I'm like, oh my God, this is it. This is what I, Dan Roselli, need to pick up and go do next, right? Again, back to that mission of where can you fill something that is going to have huge value for our community, and then kind of picked up the program in the second cycle and really drove it forward.
That's really cool.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand that about entrepreneurship. They think it's this nice, when they hear the story in hindsight, it sounds so logical and so structured and so neatly packaged, right? It was a mess. Every single day for 11 years, it was a complete mess where you just figure out what step you take next and where do you go. When we hire new employees, I'll tell them this, and they start working with me, you're going to freak out at some point. The first time that at 40,000 feet, I metaphorically jump out of the airplane to chase an opportunity, and none of us have parachutes on. And you're going to freak out and say, we got 40,000 feet to figure it out, right?
Let's go.
We'll find a way to land by the time we get down there.
We got some time. That's funny. That's hard work and just kind of a ballsy attitude.
Yeah. There's a little bit of that.
Right? Bold.
My favorite quote of entrepreneurship, definition of entrepreneurship.
All right.
The pursuit of opportunity without regard to the resources currently employed, which means you see opportunity and you chase it. You figure out how to get the resources as you go. That's true of Packard Place. That's true of RevTechLabs and the Accelerator. It's true of everything we've done.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to have to write that one down once we hear it.
I wish I could give credit. I wish I could give credit to whoever said it. I don't remember who the quote's from.
All right. But, looking past some of the downside, which was my last question, but as you're starting to look towards some of the success that you guys have had, I mean, my gosh, is there a particular achievement or something out there that really warms your heart a little bit? With all this?
For us, we're one of the very few majority female-owned, majority Latina-owned startup organizations in the country. We were doing it well before other folks.
Right.
If you look at our accelerator class, over 50% of our founders, over 9 years and 15 classes, have a female founder or founder of color on the team, right? Which doesn't normally happen in a conversation with an old rich white dude.
Right.
But we just had a big passion for inclusivity and how do we use the vehicles and platform we have to help facilitate that. We even do that through our venture conference, Venture 135, where there's a segment for early stage, traditionally underrepresented founders to have access. And one of the
That's really cool.
One of the dirty little secrets about the venture world, it's not that secret. Over 90% of the venture capital in the United States goes to white people. Over 90% of the capital goes to men. It's actually more like 95. Over 90% of the capital is deployed in New York and San Francisco.
Wow.
So there's a huge wasted human potential that we are really passionate about helping unleash in our country.
Wow, some of those numbers as I'm just kind of sitting there soaking in. Why do you think that is? I mean, 90% is a huge.
It's a huge disconnect. It's hard to imagine, right? It's hard to imagine if you intentionally structured it that way, you could even do it that way. It's a little bit of the I hate to call it the good old boy network,
right?
but it's a network, right?
Who do you know? Right?
Rich white men knew other rich white men, and that's how it happened. I mean, it's just
snowballs.
It does, and I will even say to some degree, I don't think the impact is negative, and I will call it racist. It's not like people went out to say, hey, let's make sure we keep all the capital with white men. It's just that they didn't take any effort to broaden their network into other entrepreneurs, right? So it's laziness, if I were to describe it.
Yeah, no, and let's face it, the deck is stacked against them a little bit. I mean, what I did for about 6 years is I after school tutored at a little private school here in town, and where a lot of the kids' English was a second language. There was a scholarship program, and just what some of those children had to do as a single parent ministry, and it was just what they start off with. Even though I can say like I grew up poor and my family didn't have a whole lot, we had a heck of a lot more than what a lot of these other families have, right? Yeah. So the idea that if you take your definition of entrepreneurship through that quote, what's really cool is maybe they don't have 40,000 feet to jump. Maybe they only have 10,000. And what you're doing is you're providing them that parachute at a much quicker point than maybe some other people get. And
the opportunity to provide social capital for people is just absolutely huge, right? Because when you're a well-connected person, going back to connecting dots, we can't just connect them for the traditional ecosystem. We have to connect the dots for the entire ecosystem. And we're trying to be very purposeful about that.
Very cool. Very cool.
Purpose, mission.
Yeah,
mission.
It's kind of like a broken record. Well, I'll tell you, I'll connect one more dot because we were talking about human potential, right? So I'm a humanist by nature. I consider myself a member of the human race before I consider myself an American or anything else, which sometimes twerks some people and I don't mean it to. But I remember reading an article that the next Einstein, an 11-year-old girl whose IQ was above Einstein's, I think born in Iran, then got a scholarship to go live in Britain. But how many human beings of the 7.5 billion people, how many Einsteins, Madame Curies have we wasted as a race, as a species? It's just that's what really gets me fired up. So go back to why potential is such a big thing for me. It's deep in my DNA that's what I want to do my small little part to try and help.
So that's actually a phenomenal way to look at it because, there are so many people out there that are not being identified the way they would be in the States or a developed country. I never even thought about that. The mind power, I guess, that's being lost.
Yeah. And even
in some countries, just because you're a woman or, a certain religion or sect that, you just don't
just where you're born.
Enlightened self-interest.
I never thought about that. Yeah.
Enlightened self-interest should tell us that we will all be better when we get the very best of us, the very brightest of us, and by us I mean the human race, to reach and fulfill their potential, right? If we could do that across, we're all going to be better off for that. That's what drives me personally.
No, it's really cool.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So we've talked about where you've come from. What you're doing here at RevTech and Packard Place is awesome. It sounds like you've talked about your career in decades. So let's look out into the crystal ball of 10 years from now.
Yeah.
What do you see?
Yeah, I mentioned the building Charlotte into one of the world's really robust venture communities. And when I say that, it's the same connecting of dots. It's not that I'm going to go do all that work, but I can help facilitate the connection of that. And I think we're well on our way. There's a guy big in the entrepreneurial community, Brad Feld, who started Techstars, and he's well known. And he's come and spoke at our conferences before. He has this thing he calls the Boulder thesis, because he lives in Boulder, Colorado. But it's a 20-year vision, right? And it's when you plan for building an ecosystem, an entrepreneurial ecosystem, you have to think in a 20-year time frame. Yes, you have activities year by year, but you got to think 20 years. And when you're 10 years or 11 years in, like we're here, you're thinking the next 20, not 9. You go back to thinking 20 years out. What do I want to do in that 20-year time frame? Because this takes time to do. It takes. I sometimes describe this as farming, right? We're creating really fertile soil where the seeds have the best chance of success, but you can't rush it. There's a natural law of the harvest that has to happen here.
Right. That's. I just want to keep. So, and then you guys water it, and they work, and
that is the idea.
So then, what happens? So so then, do you guys profit more in stages, as I guess, or does it depend on the company, or is it once they sell?
Yeah. So let's talk about the business model, right?
Please.
So Packard Place is a for-profit company, but there is a nonprofit on the first floor called The Garage. That's basically, we describe Packard Place and RevTechLabs as Charlotte's most successful social entrepreneurship project in history. So if you want to dive into social entrepreneurship, we can do that. But
I was about to ask.
For-profit companies that have a social good. Think Newman's Own, Tom's Shoes. You could come up with a lot of others. And so we have a business that we have to run. But what we do is we take a portion of all the rent that comes in, and that funds the not-for-profit mission of the garage. So all those 3,000 meetings we've had, the thousands of hours of mentorship that's happened, we joke 40,000 pints of beer we've given away, all happens from that. And we think that's about $1.5 million to $1.7 million that Sarah and I put back in the community over the last 10 years. A
guy Ryan and I know calls it doing well by doing good, I think is how he says it. Mm-hmm. If you make money and then can push it to things like that, how cool is that? So hats off to you, man.
Yeah, it's a matter of how the impact that you can try and have.
Yeah, no, and I've heard Sarah's name a couple times. We needed to have her out here too. I mean,
we can do a whole nother show. That's where you can cover more topics, right?
Then we'll get the real Dan Roselli. What is he really like?
It's very funny because Sarah is obviously a wonderful person and love her to death. But everyone who meets her first assumes I'm the quiet, docile one in the relationship, and everyone who meets me first assumes that about her. And then they meet us both, and they're like, how does that work exactly?
It's like, oh, there might be some interesting nights there, But well, very cool. Here in a second, we're going to get to it. I mean, man, I just want to kind of keep going here, but I know that you've got a busy day, so we're going to kind of move things along. Again, you guys, Dan Roselli, RevTech, Packard Place. I mean, it's an easy Google search. So real quick, I'm going to give you a little bit of a warm up here on what we call the fishbowl. So there's a lot of people out there. I mean, we can pretty much go ahead and do some research, but we want to find a little bit more about you and what you enjoy. We've talked a little bit here about Charlotte and some of the great stuff to do here. It's grown incredibly in the 20 years that I've been here. So that said, hey, I'm new to Charlotte. I'm here from Des Moines, Iowa, and what do I do on a weekend? I'm putting you on the spot here, but is there a particular event that you would like to do or here in the Charlotte area?
Here's a good one. And Sarah and I are on the board of Charlotte Symphony, so I'm going to give them a plug for a second too. There's a group called the Charlotte Youth Symphony Orchestra. I might have said that backwards, but it's all kids in high school who play in the orchestra, and it's very competitive to get into. Our son John played in it. They had the opportunity actually a couple of years ago to go play in Carnegie Hall. It was just a lot of fun.
Whoa, wow.
And you're watching 16-year-olds playing a symphony orchestra, and if you closed your eyes, you would believe you're listening to a full adult orchestra. They're just absolutely phenomenal. So that's one of my favorite things to tell people to go do.
And again, it's the youth. What is it?
It's a Charlotte Youth Symphony Orchestra, or it might be the Charlotte Symphony Youth Orchestra. It's one of those two.
Okay.
Just put those four together.
Yeah,
in
you
Google
just Google it,
search.
you'll find it.
Yeah, when I used to live uptown, we would go to the Charlotte Symphony quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And just as kids have come into the world and work and those types of things, we don't go anymore. But
they have a wonderful symphony in the park too here in Romeo Park and South Park. Just being outside, listening to the symphony is always great.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you ready for the fishbowl a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's fire it up.
Are you ready?
Let's rock and roll.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what this is here is called the fishbowl. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and find out a little bit more about Dan. It's easy for you to talk about your little baby. I mean, you've probably done it a million times on different business journals, all types of stuff. Sure. We're going to try to throw some stuff here. He's ill-prepared for these questions. That's fair to say. Never seen him.
No prior knowledge.
So go ahead, Sam. You want to go ahead and just grab the first one, and hopefully we don't do anything repetitive here. But what do you got for him?
Repetitive.
All
Let's
right.
get another one.
So
you pull one out.
All right. Whether you've answered this or not, we're going with this one.
All right. Fair enough.
So, okay. Outside of family, right? So the easy answer is to this question. I would take my family. But if you were on a deserted island, you did the old the Tom Hanks movie where you're crashed on a deserted island. Yeah, there you go. Nice. So you're on that, right? But you're not by yourself. Is there somebody out there that you would like to enjoy time there with? On a deserted island.
Like for all eternity? Yeah.
Well, let's say you do one day get rescued, right? Tom Hanks didn't die on the island.
Well, and you can't say Wilson.
Here we go. That's a good answer, though.
That would be a good answer.
That's an interesting one. It's got to be somebody who's here. I'll go with somebody famous. I'll go with Barack Obama. One, because I'd love to meet him, and two, he'd probably be missed, and someone would want to come rescue him. They're searching a little harder.
You're not going to be on the desert island long.
I think he's still got Secret Service protection.
Exactly.
So
he's got a microchip planted in him, and they know where he is at all times.
I don't know if that guy could get lost, right?
No, the plane goes down. I mean, shoot, really. I mean, if you're using the Tom Hanks, the Castaway analogy, right? I mean, you probably have like two F-14 fighters right next to the FedEx plane that goes down. And you're not on the island long.
How come I feel like Obama would be okay with that? We'd have to go back and get Dan, though. Come on. There was someone else with him.
Don't leave me. Oh, the bald white guy. We'll go get him too, as another bald white guy.
That's right.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, you're not on a deserted island this time, but if you could snap your fingers and be any place on the planet right now, where would you be?
International Space Station, which technically is still in the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Still in the planet.
Yes.
How many sunrises do you get a day on that thing? It's like...
it goes around every 40 minutes?
Yeah, something like that.
Something. Yeah. Very cool. So then are you...
great answer.
Are you heading up with Jeff Bezos?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Are you?
Oh, yeah. I've said one of my life goals is to be into outer space before I die.
Yes.
So I'm waiting for the price to come down.
Wait for some of the competition, right? Right now, I think they've got a little monopoly. Amazon does. So once they get a few more up there,
I think we got a shot. And before, we are still young enough to travel. I think I could pull that off. Maybe we'll see what happens.
Flat screens used to be expensive.
That's right.
That's right. Now, hey, a couple hundred.
That's right.
You got something pretty.
I'll do a bold prediction. I think in the next 20 years, that point-to-point travel on rockets like SpaceX on planet is going to happen, where you can go from New York to Tokyo in 30 minutes. That's going to happen in the next 20 years.
Oh, no. Just being able to, I was thinking about it the other day. So I was in Houston last week, and the traffic in Houston's awful, even now in kind of a subdued way. But these Uber helicopters that are basically like drones.
The VTOLs, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I was like, man, I can't wait to get one of those because I would not be sitting in this traffic. No way. No. So anyway, as we're talking about innovation and rocket ships and stuff, I'm an aviation fan. I've only solo flown and those types of things. But I tell you what, though, as we're talking about space flight, and I mean, we've got some heavy hitters in there as far as entrepreneurs. Bezos, Musk, and the Virgin Galactic guy. Branson. Yeah. So, I mean, out of those guys and any others that are really in this race, I mean, is there somebody that you would feel more comfortable riding in their spaceship? It's like, I don't know about that Branson dude, but I'm going to ride with Musk. I'll ride with Musk
for a while.
I have to
Would you care?
I'd have to go with Musk on that one, just because I think
I would too.
I think his path and his strategy is more orders of magnitude different and better in terms of what he's trying to do. Although I will tell you a little joke that I love electric cars, and so I sold my Prius to get a Tesla.
Okay.
Was ready the moment I got it 2.5 years ago to say it's self-driving, I'll just take it and go. And then when you get into a Tesla, that car is nowhere close to being self-driving. I mean, nowhere close to being
on the
self-driving.
freeway, maybe, and that's about it.
I just
in Montana.
I rarely use the self-driving feature on it because I think it's actually more dangerous because it tries to correct something I'm trying to do. I prefer just the standard cruise control on my wife's car. So
and now it's even. I guess you can turn it off, but we've got that Tahoe, and it's got all like the stuff where it blinks and the seat vibrates if I go on. Man, it's just like.
It's a little annoying. I know they're trying to edge us closer to that.
To the autonomous driving, get used to it. But
my wife's minivan does it, and I don't like driving her car.
No.
Although the Tesla does have the electronic whoopee cushion. I don't know if you know about that, but you can program it so when someone sits in a seat, it does a fart sound. No, it has a,
I know a bunch of people with Tesla. I've never heard that.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
That's pretty cool. And actually, real quick, just a little add-in on Musk. The reason why I think I would go with him, you've hit it a couple times. He seems to have a lot more passion, self-interest, in at least from a media standpoint, from a guy that's sitting in Charlotte watching TV and reading news articles. But he does seem to really kind of want to have that passion into the space flight project and what have you.
Well, think about it for Branson and for Bezos. They're interested in space. They want to see us become a spacefaring society. But Musk always started this because he believes he's saving the species, right? If we're not a multi-planet species, at some point we will become extinct. And just go back to mission driven, whether he's right or wrong, that mission drives him. And you can see the passion in it.
Yeah.
Excellent. You ready for another one?
Yeah, fire away.
Awesome.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm assuming you're a little bit of a music guy after you told me about one of your son's activity in the symphony. So if you could join any past or current music group or outfit, you name it, who would it be? And why would you want to join it?
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, I might go with a group that no one has ever heard of called the Nylons. They were a men's a cappella group in the 80s.
Oh.
And the only thing I ever made all-state in was choir. Never made it in football or anything else. The only
Awesome.
And so I've always loved to sing. And they were my favorite group growing up. So that's a totally random one that no one I'm sure has ever heard of. But that would be a really interesting one for me.
Can you belt out a little?
Oh God, no!
I knew you were going to do it.
If this was vodka, not water, maybe. But no, it's not.
Well, we're definitely getting a follow-up and get a spike his drink.
As soon as the mics are off, come on, come on, Dan.
Sure, the mics are off. Wink, wink. Yeah.
Just keep your headphones on for a minute.
We're really not recording, I promise. But no, okay. Well, very cool. We'll throw a couple more at you and let you get on with your day. And I'm sure
absolutely.
you're very busy. But we're talking a little bit about family and those types of things. So I don't know if this is something that you have to. I'm kind of feeling like you have to be on this family vacation to really feel it, because there's stuff that I think would be fun. But then once you get there, maybe it's not as all as it baked out to be. So is there a particular family vacation that you love and really bring some good memories or those types of things that you feel comfortable sharing? But a particular family favorite vacation?
One of the things about 4 years ago we did this. Having 4 kids who we had to occupy in the summer, we did a lot of summer camps. And Sarah jokingly one after the summer looked at this and said, for the amount of money we spent on summer camps, we'd like go live in Europe for a month. We're like, that's an idea. So one summer about 4 years ago, we took July off.
I like Sarah.
And she's
that's a smart woman.
The only thing you guys did wrong is she really should have been on the show instead of me. You're getting the backup act here.
Totally regretting it.
I know. And so we went to Paris for 2 weeks in an Airbnb. We worked some, but we really got to experience that. Went through Germany, went through Vienna. And it was just great, and spent a whole month with our kids.
That's great.
And Sarah and I, we love to travel, and we obviously love our kids. So we've combined those two things throughout our lives. And being able to see the world in those experiences means so much more to me than things or objects.
Well, and just curious, how old were the kids?
So it's interesting. So they were, call it 5 years ago, they were about 16 and 13 at the time.
Great.
Yeah, so old enough to remember it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And expand their horizon.
Yeah.
You get out of Charlotte, that's a great thing.
Yeah, be able to see the world and other people. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I was enjoying that one so much. Is it your go or is it my go?
I think it's my go.
Whose go is it?
I think
But,
you were.
who's running
I
the
think
show?
you were somewhere in the Swiss Alps in your head.
I really was. I mean, we've been. So, again, another really successful person was kind of like, well, I was having an opportunity to just talk to him. I was right out of college, and he said, "Man, you know what? Money's great and all that, and it's nice to be successful, but." What you want in life is just experiences, options. You want to be able to go enjoy things and put that money to work. And it's great to hear somebody like you, actually use the word experiences more so than tangible objects. And I'm just finding that's more what life's
seen
about.
The stats that, and the number of changes goes up a little bit after about $60,000 in the U.S. The marginal happiness of people who make more than that diminishes very quickly. Right, the difference between 80 and 100 is much less than 30 and 50, right?
Sure.
For obvious reasons. And so money can avoid a lot of misery, but money does not buy happiness in life.
Not at all.
It does not provide fulfillment in life. When I was with some of the big companies I've worked at, fortunate enough early in my life to watch people who were in their 50s when I was 30, who were making $250,000 a year, 2 huge leases on cars, kids in private school.
The rat race.
And we're absolutely miserable, right? I mean, how can you be miserable making $250,000 a year? And I saw it. I'm like, that is not going to be me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, I've heard it called the rat race, and it's just something that a lot of people get caught up into. I feel like sometimes I'm there, running around, but
it happens.
What stinks though is as a, and again, not getting there, but as a W-2 guy, it sucks. The taxes suck. Like the best thing about it being an entrepreneur, and I bet a serial entrepreneur is just, there's some tax advantages to it too.
Write it off.
Yeah. All right. But anyway, we'll give you one more, and then we'll let you get going with your day. Okay. Yeah.
Wait, did I?
Did you pick one?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
Okay. We get to talking, we forget. We need to have like a button, Anyway.
Yeah.
This one's kind of left field.
All right.
If you're a superhero, what powers would you have?
Flying is too mundane. I think I'd have to go with
Said the guy who wants to go to space.
I know, right? It's like, well, I'll just fly to space. Let's go. Hop on my back.
I have to go with mind reading. The ability to understand what people really think. That would be fascinating.
I kind of think you're already there. I mean, you kind of see things before they happen, from what I can tell. Are you sure?
It's part of my Jedi powers, right?
Right. I think you're there. I think you're there. But mind reading, it's
kind of like Neo. Everything's a little slower for Dan.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Mind reading, says the guy that reads minds. I know what you're thinking.
Well, I knew he was going to ask that question. So,
You're ready.
That said, as we leave, I mean, you mentioned a couple links or those types of things.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a couple shout outs that you want to mention, or if there's anything else that people could go in and check out.
Yeah, one of the things I do that I stole from somebody, I do open community office hours every week. So 20-minute slots for an hour. Anyone in the community who wants to meet on anything, just to say hello, just to meet, get feedback on their business plan.
I've
met
kidding.
hundreds of people that way. And just another way I try and give back into the community. So I'll put that link in the chat.
That is so cool. So for 20 minutes, just come on and talk?
Yeah, do whatever you want to do.
Open community time is
Open community office hours.
Sweet.
And who's all involved with that? Just you, or is it?
So I do it, and then we have about 10 other people that we've kind of cajoled into doing it. They're more focused on entrepreneurship, but I do a lot of stuff civically and some other things. So the things that people come talk about could be anything from nonprofits to entrepreneurship to whatever.
Right, very cool.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
Very
fun.
cool. Awesome.
I've got one last question.
Yeah.
So
I see. I want to ask another question too. It's just go ahead.
He's wearing the purple sport coat. He gets
the last. You go ahead.
purple wins.
Bam.
Okay. So a lot of people that listen to the podcast are that next generation of entrepreneur or college kid that's not quite out. What is that one little boost of motivation or encouragement you want to give to them, perhaps, to say, you can do this?
Yeah, it is going to sound trite, so I'm going to warn people. You got to follow your passion, right? You have to follow what you're passionate about, because I don't know anyone in life that is good at what they're not passionate about. And everyone worries a little bit about making money and how do you do that. You can find ways, no matter almost whatever it is, to create sustainability for yourself if you follow your passion. But you will be a miserable human being if you do not follow your passion.
There you go.
Beautiful.
If you don't know what it is, go figure it out. Go experiment until you find it.
Beautiful.
Do you have 30 seconds for my last question?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
All right. So talking about
last
passions
question.
and
I was just going to text Sarah, let her know I'll be late for dinner.
No,
It's all good.
you're never leaving. But no, so talking about passion and entrepreneurship, I mean, you said they need food and beer, right? I see fried chicken up here, and then I see a beer map over there.
Yes.
So are you more of a fried chicken or beer guy?
Oh, it's definitely going to be beer.
Beer.
Definitely
Put your
gotta be
hands
beer.
together.
You could. I mean, is this
Fried
peanut
chicken.
butter? Is it the chocolate? Or you make? No.
Yeah.
But beer, hands down. If it was like you can only have one of the two.
Yes, beer and pizza. I could live on beer and pizza rolls. You can live on that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the time.
Absolutely, man.
We really do appreciate it. Again, ladies and gentlemen, it's Dan Roselli, RevTech, Packard Place. My gosh, we could probably list
Open community time.
I mean,
you name it.
it's really amazing. Really amazing. Thank you so much for spending the time with us.
I've enjoyed it. Thank
Yes,
you.
please, everybody. Hey, we'll give you 20 minutes. So go ahead and give them a shout. Come on down here if you're ready to roll. But again, thanks everybody for listening, and looking forward to talking with you next time.